Derek J., before the show, you said you'd seen a headline that was interesting to you about the beginning of a new Holocaust.
It was the front page of drudgereport.com, said beginnings of Holocaust. I had to click. It was the very front page story, and it's from the Jerusalem Post. And indeed, the headline is, "We are looking at the beginnings of a Holocaust."
Yikes.
Now, this tricked me, and I'm going to let people know that I feel fooled by this headline, so don't be fooled yourself. This is a tactic that's being used by the politicians there, rightly to draw attention to some of the crimes that are taking place against the racism that inevitably gets swept up in these wars. I want to be clear to all listeners, I oppose war, totally. So I'm not on side Israel, side Palestine, I'm on side human. I want people to live and be free. But
I like that.
Unfortunately, there are people dying on both sides, and the government of Israel is taking part in that, and it's causing a lot of confusion for the people in Europe who are a little bit racist, and they're saying, "Well, it's all you Jews who are doing this." Well, no, the Jews in Belgium are not committing wars against the people in Palestine. They just happen to be of Jewish descent. That doesn't make them Israeli. That doesn't mean they support the Israeli government. Even though you might be an Israeli citizen, it doesn't mean you support the actions of the Israeli government.
It is ridiculous. There was this situation in France where they sort of went after Jewish people, and I assume it had to do with this situation going on between Israel and Palestine. At the same time, being somebody who is nominally Jewish, I can say that, Jews, I think anybody can say this, Jews tend to disproportionately support the state of Israel as though it is somehow, just or whatever. And I think that there's a lot of problems in this whole situation. I don't know.
Nobody should be being attacked for what politicians are doing in some faraway land, except those politicians themselves, perhaps. Certainly, I oppose any violence towards politicians or towards anyone, but at least hold responsible the people who are actually giving orders to lob these bombs and missiles. So the Israeli, I don't know what the leadership is called, the prime ministers, or they have a president of their Israeli Jewish Congress. His name is Vladimir Slotsker, and he's the one who said it's becoming a Holocaust situation. He says, "The situation facing European Jewry is, quote, simply intolerable, unacceptable, and inexcusable." And he was meeting with foreign diplomats at a special session in Israel, and calling the rise in anti-Semitic incidents accompanying Israel's invasion of Gaza an SOS situation. And he warned that if left unchecked, such behavior could lead to another European genocide. "Never before, since the Holocaust, have we seen such a situation as today," he said, referring to the continent-wide demonstrations by pro-Palestinian activists, a number of which have generated into violence, and many of which have featured racist rhetoric.
Ooh, sorry about that there.
Sorry.
So it is concerning that there is violence happening on both sides. This article seems to be a little one-sided, but
It's hard to find non-one-sided discussions about this conflict.
Well, consider that it's coming from the Jerusalem Post, Israel's best-selling English daily and most read English website.
So this position is that the Palestinians will be committing Holocaust on Jewish folks from Israel?
It sounds like what the politicians, if I can put it into layman speak, sounds like what the Israeli politicians and others who are meeting with them are saying is, we've got all these pro-Palestinian activists saying that we're doing something bad and they're starting violence because they're upset with us. So we need to, I don't know what, but make sure that this violence doesn't happen, as long as we can keep doing it.
Well, it's a real mess over there. Essentially, you've got Hamas, which is a political organization in amongst the Palestinians, and it is been called a terroristic organization. I think that there's some validity to that. They as a group, right? The Palestinians do not sort of say, look, he's Hamas over there. Go get him. Go get him. They don't do that. And that's sort of a problem. Hamas has been lobbing rockets over the walls. I think the wall is a problem too. But
I've heard these rockets are, let's say, less capable than the equipment that
absolutely.
the Israeli military
100%.
has.
No doubt. So you have these less capable rockets. But remember, if you have a less capable rocket hit your house, you're not going to be happy about it.
Okay. I'm not defending it.
Right. I'm just saying that there's that circumstance. But if you want to look at the other side, look, there's a hell of a lot more people, Palestinians, that have been killed in this recent conflict than Jews. So, this is by no means one-sided. And then to say that the terrorists live amongst women and children. Well, no doubt. They've got mothers. They've got sisters. I mean, these are people that, they've got issues, and they think the best way to solve their problem is using violence. I've got that. But I've heard an interesting thing posited, and it's kind of, if you are choosing to use violence, and anybody who supports this, in my opinion, uses violence through agency. So if you're supporting the use of violence against somebody who's lobbing rockets at your house, and that violence is necessarily going to affect innocent people, then what you're saying is that my unwillingness to leave my house is more important to me than the lives of Palestinian children. Like, there are places in Israel that folks could move. There are places around the world. I think the United States should allow people from Israel to move here, and frankly, folks from all over to move here. And then there wouldn't be the conflict in the same way, right? I mean, this is a generations-old conflict based on the fact that some people believe that the British stole the land for Israel from rightful owners like Palestinians, and
and the British probably did steal some land from people.
Well, it's sad, and there's a lot of history that is involved here, but it's not Jewish store owners who are sending tanks across these lines. It's politicians who are ordering
but
these.
They're doing it with a lot of support from a lot of people. I mean,
yeah, but the people in the streets who are attacking one another, for example, you mentioned the Palestinian suburb in France, which had a synagogue, and Jewish stores were attacked and targeted because it's in a Palestinian area, and it's got a Jewish shop owner, so it's going to be attacked. Well, they have nothing to do with each other. They should hands off. Stop the violence. The cycle of violence has to end somewhere, and I hope that people in Europe and around the world can recognize that they are not their politicians, that they are not their government, because just because a store owner is in a Palestinian suburb doesn't mean he wants to roll a tank through your window.
Such an important paradigm shift, and I hope you're right. I mean, I know how difficult it can be for people within the liberty movement who know that we're not the politicians to disabuse themselves of terms like "we" when it comes to talking about the politicians. As long as people continue to associate themselves in commonplace speaking when they're just talking with their friends or their coworkers, and talking about how we did this and we did that, when you're talking about really the U.S. military or the politicians doing something,
we're sending money to Israel, or we're helping the Palestinians, right?
No,
those are the things that people say, though.
Right, people say that, and it's so unconscious that even when you are made aware of it, as I will point out on this show frequently,
ad nauseum,
not often as I could, mind you, not often as I could, because
can you believe Ian holds his tongue every once in a while?
Oh, every now and then it's just like, it's just not worth putting it in here.
It even had to be pointed out to Ron Paul.
Not a shock. I just heard Ron Paul using those terminology the other day. So
he has worked for the government.
That's true. When he says it, it's actually true. When Ron Paul says when we do this, well, I guess not anymore. He doesn't work for him anymore.
Well, it depends on you.
But for a
I
long
think you
time,
can ally.
it was true.
You can ally psychologically, though.
Toll-free number. Well, that's the problem. Is we need to break that alliance, and we need to. Let's continue here in moments. Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.